Hello everyone. So in this video I would like to run an analysis of the second round of the 2023 Chess.com Daily Chess Championship, which is a tournament which I've been taking part in every year and I've been enjoying it. And it has always been a challenge, even the first rounds. So looking at my second round group, looking at the ratings, it should be an easy group to advance for me. However, as it always is in the second rounds of every year, the reality was not that simple. One of the reasons was that one of the players in my group turned out to be cheating. His games were overturned after they were over. In fact, I lost one of them, which you can see right here. It seemed to me that after basically playing the opening by himself and offering up a piece for 2 pawns right here, he turned on an engine, played perfectly until the end and simply destroyed me, as all engines do. However, he was banned and I was able to advance, sharing the first place with one of the other players. So, in this video, I would like to analyze the games which turned out to be decisive. So the games against the second seed JI 10950 from Singapore. The first game, which finished in our 2 games, was the game that I won, and as it turned out later, even though the game finished very quickly, it was the game which allowed me to advance to the third round, which has started right now. So I'll go over it very quickly now. I start this with e4, which is what I usually play in those tournaments. I usually aim for what I know the best. c6, the Caro-Kann, e5. e5, knight c3 are the 2 main moves. I change them depending on, let's say, how much I want to complicate the position. Knight c3 allows for some simplifications, for example in the recently popular line knight f6. So I chose e5, which is more challenging to play for both sides. The opponent played c5, d takes c5, which is a book move, e6, bishop e3. One of the main moves here, I think a3 is also a possible move. However, I'm trying to defend the pawn c5. Knight d7, bishop b5, that defends both c5 and e5, at least for now. Knight e7. Here Black's idea is to play either knight f5 or knight c6, or maybe knight g6 and take one of the pawns in the center. I don't have a perfect defense against that, so I just play knight f3, continue the development. a6, bishop takes. Otherwise, if I go back, knight c6 is fine for black. So bishop takes d7, bishop takes d7, and I castled, knight f5. Here I played bishop d4, still trying to keep the pawn advantage. Knight takes d4, queen takes d4, rook c8. Logical move attacking c5. I played b4 here. My opponent played b6, which is a great move according to the computer. In fact, it's the best move for black, allowing to keep the inequality. Otherwise, I just consolidate with something like c3 and I keep the pawn advantage. So he played b6. C takes b6. Otherwise, he just takes on c5. Black's better. So c takes b6, rook c4, queen e3. And rook takes b4. So the computer is saying rook e4 was more accurate, which is possible. However, rook takes b4 is quite a natural human move. He just wants to take on b6 in the next move and equalize. I play the logical knight b2, finishing development, queen takes b6. So here, basically, the computer is saying it's equal. However, I wasn't so sure about the black's position because basically he hasn't finished the development on the king side, which allows some tactics for me, which happened in the game. Queen takes b6, rook takes b6, rook a b1. I'm fighting for the open file. Bishop c5, rook takes b6, takes rook b1. So I'm basically hoping to get through on the b rank. And here my opponent simply blundered with bishop b5, which I guess is a move, as it usually happens in the turn-based chess played while blitzing, because basically there was no need to give up yet, right? Rook c7 was possible, bishop 7 was possible, rook b7 and king d8, and while it looks kind of ugly for black, it turns out that white doesn't really have anything. Black can even play something like bishop c6, king d7 at some point, even if he has to give up the a6 pawn, for example, here. I was thinking something like bishop c6, and then rook a6, king d7. It's fine for black. Black has enough compensation for the pawn. The computer is saying it's equal. So that was possible. Also another option was bishop d8. Then rook b8 looks nice, but black can simply castle, and it's also quite equal. There's nothing white can do to have an advantage. So here I was very lucky that my opponent blundered with bishop b5. Even though during the game I actually thought I'm better after bishop c7 or bishop d8, rook b7, the computer says otherwise, and I was basically lucky to have my opponent play bishop b5. So here I just played a4, and I'm winning a piece. Bishop takes a4, and basically everything else is just very simple for white. Castle, knight d4. Of course I want to keep the c2 pawn because basically I don't want to exchange too many pawns to avoid going into some rook knight versus rook endgame. h5, took on a6. Now it's very simple, so basically nothing to analyze here. e8, f3. I'm just bringing the king up. Knight b3, c5. Rook b7 going for the exchange. And here after knight takes b7 my opponent resigned. There's no point continuing because I'll just capture all his pawns and simply win the endgame. So that was quite an easy win. However, I would like to now go to the second game against the same opponent, which was a long and interesting game. Played by both players, as you can see, with quite high accuracy, 93-94%. So let's go for it. e4, c5, a3. This is quite a rare move. It's interesting if you want to kick your opponent out of the main lines. However, I was not surprised by it. I know that basically to not let white play b4 and then bishop b2, probably the best move, at least by human means, is g6, which allows black to play bishop g7 first. So bishop before bishop g7, knight c3, d6. Here I don't want to really give up the center by taking, so I'll play d6. Rook b1, knight c6, g3. And we're basically transforming to some kind of English opening ideas, for now without the move c4, but basically some kind of symmetrical English opening lines. Knight f6, bishop g2, castling, we're both finishing the development. Here I played e5, it's kind of a typical move to avoid, let's say, white playing d4 or f4, make it a bit harder for white. Of course, it's possible to play something else, like rook b8 or bishop somewhere. It's a matter of choice. I played e5, castle, knight d4, d3, b6. The reason for b6 is that at some point if white plays f4, and he'll want to take both on e5 and c5, I'll have the b6 pawn defending c5. So f4 was played, and I decided to play bishop c takes b4, which probably is an inaccuracy. Of course, as I was facing an opponent which I thought was, say, a bit lower rated, I was going for some kind of inequality. So I was hoping to open the c file or play a5 and get the past a pawn. However, this move is probably not the best. A takes b4, bishop c7, the computer is saying it's a mistake. However, I didn't really want to play knight 2, give up the d4 knight. A bishop b7, exchange, knight b5, knight e8. Here again the computer is suggesting some lines like that, knight d5, it takes d5, bishop d4. However, this is also worse. Basically at this point I was already worse, and I was hoping to go for some counterplay with the a pawn. So I played bishop knight e8, bishop b2, a5. Here white took, and he played bishop d4. Probably better was knight takes d4, and basically I was hoping for some kind of counterplay with a4, e3, queen a5, maybe use the long diagonal with the bishop on g7 to get some counterplay, which seemed fine from the human point of view. Of course, the engine is saying that white's simply a pawn up. However, bishop d4 was played. I played a4. There's no really need to lose a tempo by here, and bishop on b7 is hanging, so I played a4. Bishop g7 is logical. Knight takes g7. Queen c1. And here again, the engine is suggesting queen f3. However, in fact, I think when I let it run for longer, it's not liking queen f3 anymore. And basically, it's not a human move because it's taking the queen further away from where I'm attacking. So basically, the a file. So my opponent's playing the human move: queen c1, bishop c6, c4. The idea is that if I take, white will take with the pawn, and he'll get some kind of counterplay with his own b pawn. So I played knight e6. My opponent played queen c3. Here, probably the best move was f5, which I kind of assumed that he wouldn't play, because there's maybe something like knight c5. Now f6. And for example, here there is no checkmate, right? I have knight a6. And it's not that simple as it seems. So, assuming kind of that my opponent was say a bit lower rated, and also his previous moves like queen c1 were targeted more towards the defense, I thought that he's going to play something like he did, right? Queen c3, trying to defend the d4 square maybe from knight d4. I played queen b6, king h1, bishop takes b5, rook takes b5, and I played queen d4. And here I was already liking my position, so for the pawn I have quite a good counterplay. I managed to get some play on the black squares, and basically if he plays something like queen a3, knight c5, my pieces are pretty much perfect. So my opponent went for this line: queen takes d4, knight takes d4, e5. Now I have several options. One of them is knight b5, bishop a8, and say if I play rook a8, there's going to be some kind of drawish rook endgame. Of course, I was hoping to play for a win. So here I played rook a6, rook d5. Another option was bishop b7, from what I was calculating, I think, but this after rook b7 there's nothing. Rook d5, and then knight f5, and I have knight e3 threat, plus the bishop is hanging, so I think black's better. So what white played was rook d5. Now d takes e5 is forced, f takes e5, and I go knight c2. It looks very scary for white actually. There seems to be no way to stop the a pawn. However, after knight c1, I don't really have time to go back with the knight, right? So if I play knight e3, simply rook b5, and a3, k1, black stops the pawn, and there's no way to win as black. So I'm basically forced to give up knight on c2, play a3, rook takes c2, rook a2, rook takes a2, rook a2, h4. Rook b8 is a logical move. I'm trying to play rook b1 or rook b2 and rook b5. And here I was basically analyzing this position, and I came to the conclusion that if I don't exchange the rooks, so I played rook d8, bishop d5, on the next move white will play rook b7, take on f7, and I can only be worse. So basically only white can play for a win here, and there's no way to break through the two rooks. So I decided to play rook takes b5, c takes b5, rook b2. However, white has bishop c6, and here again white wants to play d4, d5, maybe d6, So in order to break the pawn structure, I played f6. If white plays the logical takes f6, king f7, I still have some winning chances because I'll just go up with the king, try to walk somewhere to g4 or maybe e3, either use a Zugzwang to capture some of the pawns or make some kind of attack on his king with the king and the rook. However, white played accurately here. He played e6, king f8. Of course, I have to defend against e7. And now d4, king e7, d5. And it turns out that it's a fortress. I cannot really do anything. So white will just keep playing king e1, king h1, or something like that, and there's no way I can break through. So I played for a couple more moves. f5, bishop d7. You can also move bishop d7, bishop c6. It's the same. h6 takes on g5, king g1, and again bishop d7. I cannot take on d5 because of e7, so I can just play f4, f3, and basically that's where it stops. There's no way I can progress. Any king move allows e7, any rook move allows b6, so I can only keep going king e7 or something like that, and it's a draw. So basically a very good game by my opponent. Of course, it's some winning chances after I sacrificed the pawn in the middle game. However, from the human point of view, also playing against an IM, of course you're a bit more scared. However, it was good for him holding the draw in the end game, managing to find a fortress. And in the end, he managed to qualify thanks to the fact that I made some draws against some lower rated opponents. However, those lower rated opponents played games with very, very high accuracies here. For example, if I make a game review of this one, or a game review of this one where my opponent perfectly held a king rook pawn versus king rook endgame on the long side. My opponent played with 93, 90 accuracy. So it's basically the level of the games was very high. And that concludes the analysis of the second round. I was very lucky to get through, and as I can already see in my third round, where I'm the third seed by chess.com ratings, and a lot of players, as usual, are underrated, so they have little games in turn-based, but they have high ratings in blitz. It is going to be a challenge. So let's see how it goes, and I'll probably make a video about round 3 when it ends. Thank you very much for listening.